Welcome to Back from the Abyss. I'm Dr. Craig Heacock. This is the final episode of Season 7. And sadly, we had to postpone the dementia episode because the storyteller got sick, but I'm hoping to record with her later this summer. A few months ago, Chris reached out to me and he said, "Dude, we should meet up for a beer." And while this wasn't an unusual invitation per se, I think I had the tiniest inkling that this meetup was going to be significant. And within a couple of minutes into our meeting, Chris said, "Hey, I need to tell you something." Long pause, sinking feeling in my stomach. Maybe I even held my breath. I probably did for a long time. And then Chris told me that after 7 years of our shared project, he was stepping away to focus on other interests and goals. Oh man. Our little garage band of psychiatric hope and storytelling was breaking up. I had known that this was coming. We had discussed this possibility starting even after season 2, when we had the lonely, isolating year of COVID, and we almost gave it up then. And at the end of each season since, we've had the discussion, do we keep doing this or not? And I had long told Chris that when he was done, I was probably done as well. A side note here, a few minutes after Chris told me he was leaving the podcast, I asked him, "How did you think I would respond?" And he said, "Well, I thought you might start crying," which actually was a pretty reasonable guess. But rather than sadness, I felt this overwhelming gratitude. Gratitude for all of Chris's hours and hours of hard work and guidance and input and humor, all through this 7-year project of recording stories and spreading them all over the world. Without Chris, Back from the Abyss would not have happened. No way. I needed someone to walk this path with me, and the emotional soundscape and so much of the meticulous editing is due to Chris. Every episode of the last 7 years was much better for him having been part of it. So after the shell shock of realizing that I was now going to be alone, with no co-producer, no co-conspirator, no one to hold me accountable and give me unadulterated feedback, no one to make me laugh so hard that I had to use my asthma inhaler so I could breathe, I thought, should I just call it quits? Had we done enough? Told enough stories? Reached enough people? Spread enough hope? So I gave myself a couple of weeks to ponder the fate of Back from the Abyss, and then I decided that I wanted to see if I could find the right person to help me keep this all going. I interviewed a few podcast producers from all over the country, and they all seemed super competent and thoughtful and at least somewhat interested in the content of the podcast. But they weren't Chris. They weren't close friends. They didn't live here in Fort Collins. They didn't have any emotional investment in the podcast. One little anecdote here. I spoke with a podcast production company in New York City that came to me highly recommended, and 2 things stood out from that call. First, to use them would have meant needing to quadruple my production budget. Yikes. And the second thing was when the producer was outlining all the benefits that would come along with their production help, she told me that they would have a producer at each of my recording sessions, guiding the process as needed. And I said, wait, I don't think that's going to work. And she said, no, for sure. We'll be on each recording call, monitoring, giving you real-time feedback. And I then told her that I record all the stories, all the episodes in person. That most people fly in from out of state to come to my house to record, and she was completely shocked. She told me that this was unheard of for a podcast of this size, to only do in-person recordings, to have guests travel in from out of state. She was truly impressed that I could find guests with this level of commitment. So anyway, after interviewing a few folks, I felt even more lost and unsure. What would it be like to have my co-producer be someone in some other city who had never met face-to-face and had no history with Back from the Abyss, no sense of where we come from, someone who was just joining this long, winding journey in the middle? And then shortly after that, I found myself on a long run in the foothills, sharing my podcast producer woes with my dear friend Mike. And as I began to explain my dilemma, I suddenly thought, hey, why not Mike? Mike has this long, long history in journalism, and storytelling, audiovisual production. Plus, he's been a fan of the podcast since the very beginning. So I popped the question, and Mike asked a few logistical questions, and then he said, I'm in. So listeners, it's the end of the Chris Johnson era, and it's the beginning of the Mike Hooker era. And I think you all can expect the same high-quality sound and music and production. And I also imagine that Mike will add his own creative touches to the upcoming season. On the topic of gratitude, I'm feeling so much of this as I sit here recording this. My gratitude for Chris, for all the storytellers over the last 7 years who've been so brave and vulnerable and generous. And gratitude for all you listeners. Gratitude for the experts who have sat down with me to explore ideas in psychiatry. And finally, a big shout out and thank you to you listeners who are helping to support the out-of-pocket production costs of the podcast. If you are supporting the podcast at the $8 or $10 a month level and you haven't yet gotten a phone call from me, please reach out to me through my website so I can rectify that. Finally, I'm thrilled to announce that the Back from the Abyss summer special will bring back Laura Mae Northrup to the podcast for a 2-part exploration of Laura's personal healing journey. I feel so honored that Laura is trusting me to help her share her powerful story. I can't wait for all of you to hear it. And if you haven't yet started listening to the newest season of Laura's podcast called Inside Eyes, you gotta check it out. Laura's insights and wisdom are a true gift for so many folks trying to find a healing path out of sexual trauma. In the meantime, I've got 2 upcoming therapy trainings and a few weddings, including one of my daughters. Super excited about that. And there's so much good stuff to come. Until next time, I'm sending all of you my deepest affection.
I could sit in this chair for 1,000 years and watch the woods consume the neighborhood, watch the ambitions come and go, surround me and engulf me. We could ditch the TV and spend a little more time reading books and singing songs on the porch, sit here watching the daylight wane, leaving little trace and even less memory. I just want to be still. I just want to be still. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be free of these things that are weighing heavy on me, that keep me from doing or going on knowing the sun comes up, I go back to sleep. In our so-called liberation of self, we have only bound the shackles more tightly. Free up your mind and start thinking a good thought. Free your mind and be still. Free your mind and be still. Free your mind and be still. And be still. Time has brought us up to this point. It will carry us far beyond it until we are nothing. Sometimes I feel like we're just words on a page. Close your eyes and be still. Close your eyes and be still. Close your eyes and be still. And be still.